Since the 1800s, the YWCA has been an old staple in our community and across the nation. Today, we're going to tell you what that means for 2012 and how it is still helping empowering women and saving lives. I'm Kimberly Warren. You're in for a treat. Hang on to your seat. You are watching Joy in Our Town. Melissa Ferguson, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It is so good to have you back. You've been doing this for 10, 11 years now.
Yes.
And I love your slogan is empowering women. And what is it?
And eliminating racism.
And eliminating racism. What a wonderful mission. As the public relations manager, you've seen, just in your 10 or 11 years, you haven't been there since the 1800s, but in your 10 or 11 years, you all have made a lot, just when you thought you couldn't do anymore. So pretty much tell us what's your main target and specifically with victim services, what you have to offer the Midland Empire.
Sure. Well, a lot of people are probably really familiar with our shelter for abused and homeless women and children. We also offer rape crisis services and domestic violence counseling as well to those women who necessarily aren't staying in our shelter. But our big new project is Bliss Manor Transitional Housing, and so we're really excited that we've recently opened that facility.
Right, and now the transitional housing is just a little bit different from the emergency abuse shelter. And how long can you stay, and why is the mission a little bit different for the women to have a longer time to stay in the apartments there?
Right. Well, what we were seeing with our shelter is our stay is typically 60 to 90 days. So women would be just starting to get back on their feet and need to leave our shelter. And so their housing at that point tended to be kind of precarious. And so we really needed a place for them to transition into and have a little bit longer to get back on their feet. And with Bliss Manor, they can have a year to 2 years if they have, for instance, past electrical bills. Then it's really hard to get a new apartment until all those things are paid off, and it's pretty hard to do that if you're also trying to job hunt. And so we're able to help them have a little longer time to get all those pieces in place and have a really secure foundation. What we found was that some of them would end up back in a homeless or domestic violence situation just because they didn't have any other living options, and then would wind up right back in our shelter again.
Can you put a face on the women that were being abused? I mean, a lot of people, if you haven't been in that situation, may not realize that, you know, they're professional business women that are just caught in these situations, and then sometimes they're trapped because of economic situations and dependent upon the perpetrator.
Well, and that's exactly what I wanted to mention, is that, you know, there really isn't a face to domestic violence because it affects so many women, and so many women you never think about. The woman at the next cubicle in your office, the woman that sings with you in the church choir who you thought had a wonderful family life. You know, you just never know. And we're seeing more and more domestic violence with older women. Maybe they've been widowed and have moved in with a daughter and a son-in-law, and the son-in-law is being abusive, and so now she's homeless trying to find a place to live. And so, you know, it can take a lot of different faces.
Is there a common cause that you see, a reoccurring theme in families that deal with domestic violence?
Well, there's a few things that can increase the numbers that we see. For instance, we know that women are very likely to be abused while they're pregnant. And so that's something that we see a lot of, that women who are expecting that come into our shelter.
A time in their life where they should be nourished and you know, people are opening doors more for them. Why does that create a stressful situation in the household?
I think that just the strain in general of that change in the family dynamics creates a lot of strain. But, you know, it's really hard for me personally to see into the mind of an abuser and know exactly what those triggers are. The economy's also been another one. And, you know, we've not had a good economy the last few years, and families are very, very stressed. And you know, tempers run short.
Yeah, people are struggling from paycheck to paycheck, unemployment, and you know, even violence in the schools is up, and so I can see where that would create strain in family relationships.
It does. And, we also serve homeless women, but when we sit down and really talk to the homeless women that come into our shelter, a big majority of the time there's been domestic violence at some point in the past that has led to that homelessness.
So we know some of the triggers of the violence. What does it take to get a woman back on her feet, to have value in herself and the confidence to move away from that perpetrator and kind of be self-sufficient, whatever that is? Because a lot of times we talk about self-sufficiency, but it really involves a team of people, spiritual, career, friends that are supportive.
Sure. Well, we do know that it usually takes 3 times before a woman leaves for good.
Wow.
And so, it's pretty common for a woman to come to our shelter, to leave, and then at some point end up back with her abuser and to leave again because, oftentimes she's been married to that person, in a relationship with that person for a lot of years.
They have children.
They have children. There have been good moments. Generally, the profile that we'll see with the abuser is after the abuse. There's a real reversal of personality where they're very affectionate and very loving. And so it's very hard for the women to cut that completely and to completely say, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Because they want to give them another chance, and they may have a lot of good excuses. I was stressed, I was drunk, I'm sorry, and now, they keep, I guess the women may keep giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Right, right. And not every moment in the relationship may have been a bad moment. There may have been some very good moments, and they're choosing to focus on that rather than the abuse.
So besides just the shelter, or whether it's transitional housing or emergency shelter, what else does it take to create a non-hostile environment and a firmer foundation?
Well, there's a lot of pieces to that because, obviously counseling is a part of it. Economic stability is a huge piece of that, especially if the women have not been the primary providers for their families and need to go out and find work and be able to do that, maybe be able to find childcare so they can go to work. Put all of those pieces together that are going to make them sufficient. Besides just the counseling they need to be able to leave that relationship and to rebuild their self-esteem. A big part of that abuse relationship is tearing down that woman's self-esteem, and so we need to build it back up again. The other piece of that is the relationship with the children, because even when women believe that maybe the children didn't see the abuse, they're usually surprised to find out that the children did know what was going on and had seen a lot more than they thought they had. So counseling for the children is very important as well. We also sometimes see that children will tend to sympathize or lean towards the abuser because they were the more powerful person in the relationship and just not completely understand what was going on.
Do you see often that they blame the mother? You sent my dad away, and how come we cannot all be together? Because they don't understand the dynamics of the abuse.
Exactly.
So tell us what the shelter has to offer, and also at Bliss Manor in legal terms, because a lot of times the woman gets away, but they don't want to put any teeth in that with an ex parte or restraining order.
Right.
So what type of support do you offer for the legal system?
Well, we're very, very blessed that the last few years we have had a volunteer that has served at the courthouse for us. And if a woman comes in, whether she is connected with our services yet or not, if she's there to fill out an ex parte or an order of protection, he will help her through that process. And then if she wants someone to appear in court with her as an advocate for her, a support person for her, he will do that as well.
Did you say volunteer?
Volunteer.
Volunteer.
Yes,
Wow.
and he has donated thousands of hours of his time.
That is fantastic. Let's put
that.
the information on the screen right there. We have Melissa Ferguson. She is our public relations manager at the Young Women's Christian Association, or YWCA. They have many services, but specifically we're talking about domestic violence today. And if you need legal support, emergency shelter, perhaps even transitional housing that is a little bit longer, please give them a call to see what services will most benefit you and your family. Their number is 816-232-4481. That's 232-4481. 4481. You can also go directly to the website to find out about legal assistance, counseling, the Encore Plus program, Hispanic services for the Hispanic community, and it goes on and on and on. The website is YWCASJ for St. Joe, YWCASJ.org. That's www.ywcasj.org. Wow, it's just a tremendous amount of support that you offer. Many women may not know that. So we have shelter, transitional housing, emergency shelter. You also have rape counseling.
We do, and we have emergency rape crisis services. So if a woman has been raped and shows up in the emergency room here, we have nurses who are trained here at Heartland to lead them through that process, but we also have rape crisis advocates that they can call, and we will send a volunteer out to walk them through that process as well.
That is wonderful. Encore Plus addresses breast cancer, and you offer some complimentary or free mammograms.
We refer women to some agencies in town that can provide them for mammograms at reduced or no cost. And then we do breast health education with them as well. And as we were talking about earlier, especially with the minority communities. And then we also really focus on older women as well who may think, I'm at the point of life I no longer need to get mammograms, but that's not the case at all.
Okay. Let's talk about women that have children that may need your assistance in the emergency shelter or at the Bliss Manor transitional housing. Is that allowed, and what ages, especially if they have a son?
Sure. We do allow children in both of those facilities. As a matter of fact, we served over 250 children that had been in domestic violence situations last year, and I think we had another 50 or 60 children that had been in homeless situations that stayed there with their parents.
Wonderful.
So yeah, pretty big numbers.
Okay.
We always have a lot of kids around.
Okay.
We do have to draw an age limit on the boys that stay there, and you need to talk to the shelter directly about the situation, but I want to say generally it's around 12 or 13 that we need to find somewhere else for them.
Okay.
But we can work with the families and help them do that.
Okay. Now, every year, the third Thursday in June, we have a huge Women of Excellence celebration. And pretty much you celebrate women in the workplace, women
in volunteerism, support services, employers. We have emerging leaders that are women under 40, and then we have a future leader, which is a high school senior girl.
And every year it gets bigger, so if you're interested, go to the website and find out more about the event and the celebration of women and men who support the women.
Exactly. And we have all those nominations for the awards come from the community, and every woman who's nominated will be recognized, and the nomination forms are on our website.
Wonderful. Well, we look forward to Bliss Manor opening the 3rd floor, and we know there's going to be a waiting list already.
Yes.
And we appreciate the work, Melissa, that you do at the YWCA and for the community at large.
No, thank you.
Thank you for being here. Again, if you want to contact Melissa Ferguson or the staff at the YWCA about the emergency shelter, rape services, counseling, Encore Plus, and their partnerships with mammographies, and the list just goes on and on, just contact them directly. It is 816-232-4481, 232-4481. There's also a website that lists all their services and their programs that impact this community at YWCASJ.org. That's www.ywcasj.org. Again, Melissa, thank you for being back here.
Thank you for
And we
having
want to
me.
thank you for watching Joy in Our Town. I'm Kimberly Warren. Have a great day.
Hi, I'm Detective Kevin Bain with the Kansas City Police Department and the Crime Stoppers Tips Hotline. If you have information on a felony crime, please contact the Tips Hotline anonymously at 816-474-8477. You can also submit your information at our website, www.kccrimestoppers.com. Remember, all information is anonymous, and we do pay up to $2,000 in cash rewards.
Hello, I'm Kimberly Warren, and today we have a special guest from the St. Joseph Safety and Health Council. They do a little bit more than Safety Town, and we are going to be in for a treat today. So get your pencil and your paper. You are watching Joy in Our Town. Sheldon, Lyon, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I am so excited about this. Not that I need traffic classes or shoplifting classes or anything like that, but a lot of times we talk about the St. Joseph Safety and Health Council and people think about Safety Town. What was going on in 1935 when they started this council?
Right, the organization's been in existence since 1935. We're 79 years old.
Wow.
And actually it was formed because of a lot of fatalities inside the city limits of St. Joe, not only from drivers of vehicles, but also pedestrians. And so you get to look back at the history and the old black and white photos, and Ford Motor Company even made a 5-minute video on the Progressive Safety Council in St. Joseph, Missouri. And so that's kind of the roots of the organization, and of course it's blossomed into much more than that, but it certainly is an agency that does a lot for the community.
So you started in 1935. Well, not you, but we started this in 1935. And you can imagine cars were probably going 15 miles an hour, maybe.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I did some research on microfilm at the library, not looking for the Safety Council, but on another topic. And periodically I'd run into these articles in the St. Joe Gazette back then that talked about, crashes and the Safety Council, and you saw the old vehicles, from the 20s and the 30s in the pictures where somebody died or somebody was seriously injured. So they were very active right from the start.
Wow, incredible. What is the overall mission and goal now? Because we've also added in health to that.
Yeah, actually what we want our goal is to keep people safe while they're at work, while they're at home, and while they're out in the community are the three areas that we focus on.
And community, you also get into some OSHA regulations and training. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, our occupational side of the organization puts on training for area industry. Maybe a company needs some confined space training before they can let their workers go into a confined space, or maybe an area of business has a lot of forklifts. Of course, those employees need to be trained on how to properly use a forklift. Just a whole range of opportunities there to come to the Safety Council and get that training that OSHA requires.
Now, one of the classes that some of the classes that you offer have to do are court-appointed, mandated classes. So tell us a little bit about those citizens that are breaking the law or ordinances.
Well, that would fall under the community, and what that is, whenever a person, for instance, would be arrested for driving while intoxicated, and the court would find them guilty, then they have to take a SATOP class in order to get their license back. And what SATOP is, we have a counselor that does an assessment through SATOP to figure out which program that we offer, or there are programs that we don't offer that he could refer them to. So that assessment is made, and based on the findings there, then the appropriate class is taken. And when they've taken that class, that's the road to help them get back their driver's license.
And now some people think, that you only have classes for people that are drinking and driving, but it's any substance, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, you can be arrested for drugs as well as alcohol and be impaired and get that DWI ticket. So we always want to make sure that we are out there sober when we drive, and that we pay attention. Distracted driving is a huge campaign in the community right now. So all of those things are a part of our mission, as well as working with the high schools through the docudramas and just a lot of different community type of events that we help with in the area.
Speaking of high school, you have some classes for youth offenders if they were shoplifting or have any kind of offense. Tell us a little bit about that.
We sure do. If they would be arrested and referred by the court, we can do that. Also, there's a class Alive at 25. Sometimes you remember when you were young and thought you were bulletproof and maybe made some bad decisions. This is a class that they can take to remind them of the every choice they have. There's ultimately, based on the decisions they make, there's things they have to face up to because of those bad decisions. And it's just a way that we can help them make better choices, and so those results end up being better for them.
Speak a little bit about the driver improvement course for those that have lost points or had too many speeding tickets.
Yeah, actually on your driver's license, when you get your license, you have no points. And if you're stopped for a traffic violation, depending on what type of violation, points are added to your license. So That's something we don't want to have for insurance reasons. We don't want to ultimately lose our driving privilege. So in the state of Missouri, if you're issued a ticket for speeding, you can take a driver improvement class in lieu of those points. And as long as you act on that within 60 days of your court date, then you can take a driver improvement class, and those points will be deferred from your license. And you're eligible to do this every 3 years. So that's another class that we provide to people that want to keep those points off their license, which is very important to that insurance rate and to keeping their driver's license.
You have so many wonderful community classes. Can anybody sign up, or do they have to be court mandated? I know some people are watching saying, hey, I need to send my husband to that driver improvement
and we
course.
do have parents call in and say, you know, my kid's making some bad choices. Is there a class that we can enroll them in? And there sure is. And I have a phone number for you, of course. It's 816-233-3330. Or our web address is safetycouncil.org.
Let's put that information on the screen.
Okay.
Again, our special guest is Sheldon Lyon. He is the executive director with St. Joseph Safety and Health Council. And he just gave us the number. It is 816-233-3330, right there on your screen. And the website is also there, www.stjoe, that's J-O-E, safetycouncil.org. That's St. Joe, J-O-E, safetycouncil.org. And you can get a list of all the programs that they have.
Yes. And that's a good way, whether your child has made some bad choices or you've gotten that speeding ticket. There's just a lot of different areas where we can help. And also, we get a lot of calls where we refer people to the proper agency for help, in whatever problem they have. We have a lot of people call in. We are a NHTSA approved site to install car seats. So people in the community that can't afford car seats, there's a path where they can go and get a free car seat. And so if they want more information on that, and they're in the community, maybe they're out of a job and they're receiving financial assistance, there's no reason anybody in town should have children that aren't in a car seat that are of that age. And so we can help them with that issue.
How big of a need is it to have a strong health and safety council? Is it something you just do in the summertime, or you have programs and training every month?
Yeah, this is a year-round agency. There are 4 full-time employees there that work, and we're constantly, every day, it's something new. We're busy, but that's good because we're keeping people safe, whether they're at work with occupational programs, whether they're at home and they're in their cars through the traffic programs that we have, or in the community. The Safety Town that you mentioned earlier is a great program that teaches kids all types of safety, and also the Safety Acres program.
This is wonderful. Let's talk a little bit about the Stranger Danger and Safety Town that you have every year.
Yeah, Safety Town is a program for children, and we have a preschool session that is 4 days in length, Monday through Thursday, and that's for the 4-year-olds. And from the 5 to 7-year-olds, they meet Monday through Thursday, 2 consecutive weeks is considered a session. And so they learn all types of different safety. We have all kinds of people that come in from the community, whether they're firemen, policemen, somebody that works at the gas company, somebody from the hospital, just to introduce them, let them know that these people are their friends, and here's their safety message for you. And it's really satisfying to see a child leave the safety program at Safety Town, and they get into one of these real life situations, and they react the way we've taught them, and they do well and come back to tell that story. And so it's a safety message that's timeless, and it truly will save your life.
With all of these alerts in our community, with the kids almost being kidnapped and abducted and around our community, some people think Safety Town is just about getting on tricycles and learning how to stop and go, and about traffic signals, but it's so much more than that,
isn't it? It is so much more, and you bring up a good point with the stranger danger. So many of our children think a stranger is the boogeyman type of person. They don't understand that a well-dressed person can also harm them. So it's important to teach them the tricks that a lot of these people that abduct children will use, and make them savvy and give them that information so that they know what to do, because ultimately you're going to react the way you've been trained. And if we train these youngsters to act a certain way, if and when that event happens, they're more likely to react just because that's what they've learned.
Wow, what an incredible amount of territory that you all cover at the St. Joseph Safety and Health Council. We also have the helmet safety, poison prevention classes, sexual assault, personal safety, and it goes on and on and on. You have one that I haven't heard about before. Tell us about Safety Acres.
Right. Safety Acres is a program that's targeted toward children that live either in the rural area, or maybe they live in town and they don't live on a farm, but they have friends that do. Mm-hmm. So while they live in more of an urban setting, they do go out and visit their classmates on the farm, mm-hmm. and they have no idea, excuse me, of the dangers that are out there on the farm. So this is a good way we can educate kids in grade 3 through 5. And usually when we have one of these programs, we'll have 400 kids there over 2 days. So a lot of kids take advantage of it through the schools that they attend, and we send out notices to the schools, and then, of course, they want their kids to have this type of safety information. So then we'll have the program, and we're getting ready to a little bit later this year, and we expect it to be, again, very successful, and it just gives them that safety information.
The perspective as a rural opposed to city kid is a lot different, isn't it?
It is. You know, and the same, you know, as vice versa. If you're from the farm and you come to the city, you know, traffic's usually not a big deal out in the country, but it's something when you're out and about in town, you have to be, you know, very careful of.
Yeah, and my husband learned to drive on a tractor. So some of the things you talked about earlier before we begin the show was you'll include ATV safety, gun safety, power takeoff and tractor safety,
Right.
and large animal safeties. Do we have bears in Missouri or what?
We do have bears in Missouri, mainly south of Interstate 44, but there are bears in the state. This is a good way for kids to get basic information about the farm animals and what are the do's and don'ts. Also, another program that's very important is grain bin safety. If that corn bin is full of corn, that silo, and these kids like to get in there and play, they're going to get engulfed in that corn and suffocate. And I know earlier this year we just had 4 teenagers in Nebraska that died this way. So these things happen, and it's important that we tell those kids this is a dangerous thing, do not do this, because some of them are oblivious to it and have no idea the danger they're in.
Right, let's put the information on the screen again. If we didn't get all your topics covered today, or you want to repeat something, you need to go to the website or give the St. Joseph Safety and Health Council a call. Sheldon Lyons has been our special guest, and their number is 816-233-3330. That's 233-3330. They're located at 118 South 5th Street, right here in St. Joseph, Missouri. Their website is stjoesafetycouncil.org. That's stjoesafetycouncil.org. Sheldon Lyon, thank
Always
you
a
for being
pleasure.
here
Thank
and for
you.
what you do. And we want to thank each of you for watching TBN, Kansas City, St. Joseph, Joy in Our Town. I'm Kimberly Warren. Have a wonderful day.
This program has been sponsored by the Trinity Broadcasting Network and made possible by your telephone dollars. Your continual support can keep Joy in Our Town brought to your home every day. So write Joy in Our Town, P.O. Box A, Santa Ana, California, 92711.